I've worked a lot of jobs, too many jobs. Been out of college for about 10 years, and I've had about 10 jobs. I'm about to start a new one uh, in a few weeks, and I've been at this current one for about 7 months. And from the first week, I could tell it was a mistake. Now, in the beginning of my career, I wanted to be the best I could, learn the most, and do the most technical work possible because I'm very analytical and I like to figure out how things work. I'm going to leave it vague on purpose. I'm not going to say what the career is or where I work or the exact dates, but yeah, so I started out trying to be as technical as possible. The first one, they didn't pay like even a starting wage as what I'm looking for, so found another one. It was only a little bit more. But then after getting into it and starting getting into the groove, after a couple of years, a new manager came up for us, and he just immediately didn't like me, so he got rid of me. And then I got another job that was really extremely technical, and I loved it, and it was very close to my house. And they were bought and moved to Indiana, so I had to obviously quit that one. So I put my 2 weeks in before they moved, and that was just on a hunch. It was pretty obvious because a lot of the people that started coming were from in Indiana, where the company was from. So if that ever happens to you, it's a huge red flag. You should probably start looking for a job. If there's talks about being bought, or if you do get bought out and then you start seeing guys coming in from the home base, it's usually the Grim Reapers coming around trying to learn everything and then pack it up. Or even if they don't move, they might be just clearing house and making room for people that want to move from Indiana or from wherever the company is that buys your company. So then I left that one because of that. Then I get to another job, which was a contract. And at that time, it was supposed to be contract to hire, but then COVID happened, so they didn't promise me they were going to do it, and I already had a house, so I decided to leave on my own accord, find another job, and that was a job pretty far from my house, but it was very promising, paid a lot, and it was at a senior level, which is what I was looking for. And excuse me, so I got that. That worked really well. I was there for about almost 4 years, but I worked my way up to a leader, and they were bought out, and things changed quickly. People were let go that I relied on or that I was trying to build up, and a lot of things changed, and I could tell that whatever I was doing was not important anymore to the company, so I decided to leave. They also kind of cut me off of being in upper management, which was the plan for me since I started. I got to middle and I was going to get to upper, and then they put the kibosh on that. So then I found a place that was upper management in the same field, and I was going to do that. So I did that. 3 months of that, it was terrible. They wouldn't like change anything. It was very siloed. It was very micromanaged by the owners. It was a very small company, but they made a lot of money. They had a lot of employees, but it's small, relatively small. Not that that's a bad thing, but the owners were very involved and very micromanaging, and they weren't involved in like a good way. It was more just like shoot the shit and find out what's going on and try to influence people or force their hand. And it was very toxic. And my direct manager was very nice and I liked him, but he had no spine. And whenever you try to actually get into something correctly, they would just kind of like, no, let's push it off, or let's do it this way, or close it out for that. So, and then I was stuck working on the reason they hired me was I was starting to work on some very specialist things at the previous job. They needed help with that on an existing product or service, and I ended up doing a really good job with that. And I was probably 80% done, and I was working on submitting it. And then they were starting to let me do the other stuff, which was I was talking about. There's not much you could change. A lot of incompetent people worked there, and there was some issues with where I was sitting and what people were doing. There was some nastiness about it. It was weird. I'm just gonna leave it at that. So I left there, and then I ended up taking off time to be with family. And then I found a contract, contract to hire job. And it was just a complete scam from day one. And I was trying to believe in it and not let myself realize that it was. But I only lasted literally 3 weeks there. Very high paying job, but they had no idea what they were doing, and the boss was just in title only, and he would leave and hide. Nobody knows where he was, in no direction. And it was very tight ship there, and there wasn't much equipment, and there's not much software. There's nothing you can really do. So that I left just out of total frustration and anger. Oh, and also the boss was very rude, and when I tried to ask for more work, he took it offensively and was trying to fire me because of it. So that was very toxic. So then when I left there, I got a job at another company, which was supposed to be full-time as more technical role, which is what I wanted. And that one was kind of a slow burn. I stayed there for 6 months, but I didn't really get that it was totally fucked until 3 months in, maybe 4. But I kind of was feeling it. The boss was very micromanaging, made you put all the tasks into a spreadsheet, and anything that you thought of, you had to put in a spreadsheet. Anything that somebody asked you to do, you had to put in a spreadsheet. And then you had to go over it with him every week, which it sounds reasonable, but the way he was doing it, it was way too much. No freedom with it. He would tell you, nope, don't do that, do this, even though you could do both, honestly. Also, the culture was very strange. It was you had to be in to be able to talk to anybody. A lot of other reasons, but anyway, I left there and I took off more time again. And then I found a job, which is at a company. I was looking for a while. It's probably another 6 months. And I found this company that's a well-established company. It's been in the state that I'm in for a long time. And then it ended up being a total sham. They do stuff like it's still 1900s, 1903. They use the same old shit, and they have the same methodology that it's old. And what I do what I did was kind of a new. They were trying to get into it, which is important, and it exists at every company, and it should exist at this one since it's very established. And I got into it, the job, and realized that nobody gives a shit about it, and it'll never change because it's a union environment, and just the cult. It comes from the top, so maybe not the CEO, but the man. Even if your direct manager cares about getting stuff done and making a change, you're good. But if he doesn't, and he's in on it, and he doesn't give a shit about shit, not even you're fucked. And that's what it was for me. So, because I have financial obligations and direct dependents that I have living with me, I had to stay there. until I found something else. And like I said at the beginning, I knew it was a sham. Like within the first week, it was just nobody knew where to put me. Nobody knew what I was going to be doing, and I was left alone for 1-2 months with no direction. And then the directions I were given were like something you could finish in an hour. So it was, and like I'm a very high performer, so it was very insulting to me to have nothing to do all day and be trying to get into it and nobody gives a shit or wants to talk to you, or you're ignored. The boss was always gone, never talked to me. He would take stuff I was doing and work on it and not tell me, or he'd tell me not to do something that I could do, or he would put me on the spot in front of other people and make me look stupid. And I survived for 7 months, and I was looking for a very specific job to get into because it's really what I want to be doing. And I was looking basically since I started, so I've been looking for about 6 months, let's say, for that type of job, and was unsuccessful. And I only just until the last month I started to get real traction. And I went to interviews, and I found one that was very cool, very technical, and it was more removed from day to day. So it was more like focused on being technical rather than production or throughput. And that was very, like, that was what I really wanted to do. And I did an interview. It was very robotic with an HR person. She said she was going to record it and send it to the manager. And I worked with a recruiter on it, and he was hard to reach. But I trusted the process, and he reassured me. And I didn't hear back for about a week and a half, 2 weeks. And they kept pushing it. And then I finally found out, oh yeah, you don't have the exact thing we're looking for, even though we all talked about how I could learn it and it's not a big deal because it's like an adjacent to what I'm specialized at. So that was a no. So that was very hard to take. And then there was another recruiter that kept reaching out about kind of the same thing I'm doing now, which is not really what I want to be doing, but it's not bad. And it was not what I wanted to do, so I kind of ignored her and then talked to her. Oh, it's this, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm not really looking for that. No, give it a shot. I'm like, okay, set up the interview, and then I kind of have a conflicting schedule with work, so I wasn't able to do it, and I didn't feel like it, so I canceled it. But then she called me back. Oh, let's do it. So I made another one. Went. They were so nice. They were very impressed with me, like, right away. And it was like I already had the job, so that's where I'm heading next. And it seems like they have a good culture there, but it's more of what I'm already doing, which is fine. So that's where I'm heading next. And basically my thought is, as long as I'm busy, I have somewhat meaningful work and people who respect me, I'm going to stay there for a little while. And the reason I made this video is, like, you think a career is something that it is, like, meant to be for you, where it'll happen and you'll get what you want, but a lot of people don't ever make it to that point. They kind of just settle for what is out there and what's close enough, and that's kind of what I'm going through right now. And it's a little disheartening, but it's like I said, as long as you're somewhat fulfilled and you're getting good money and you're not worked to the bone and you have good work-life balance, I think that's is what it is, and we're all just gonna have to take it. It really seems like these, I'll call it unicorn jobs, but it really shouldn't be. Those types of jobs are saved for, like, people on the end, and it's hard to get in. So, we could try for those, like average people like you and me, we could try for those, but I wouldn't bank on it, and I would just get something that you can already do, or if you want to try but it's similar to what you do, or just keeping the same path, as long as it's not a toxic work environment like I'm in now. It pays well and there's a good work life balance. Now, caveat is that this place I'm in has two of the three, but maybe you can live with only two of the three, but for me, I need all three. So, for example, it was toxic, like I said, but it had good work life balance and it paid very well. And you worked very, very hard, very low stress. Maybe people can take that, but for me, didn't work out. And when I say toxic, I also mean respect and allowing you to do what you're specialized at, and what you can grow with and learn. That's part of the toxicity of it. Is they're like trying to distance you and not let you learn too much and make too much change. Status quo. That's pretty important to me. Maybe for me, I could kind of work with an extra few hours a week. Would rather not, but if I were in that situation, I think I would rather have that than be in a toxic work environment. So you got to really make compromises. Take what you can get, and as long as it's somewhat fulfilling, you're respected, and there's work to do, and you get paid well, and you're not overworked, and there's good work-life balance, just take it and think about it, get some experience. I would recommend staying at one place for at least 5 years. I've yet to do that, and I regret it. That question comes up a lot in interviews, and sometimes it's hard to explain because you don't want to actually tell them why, because sometimes it's not good, and that's just the way it is. You don't want to say anything negative about yourself. Yeah, so just kind of have to settle for what we got and ride it out, do the 5 years, then you could start, because you'll be settled in that job to where you could do it with little effort, and you're okay mentally, everything's fine financially. Then you can kind of at your leisure look for something that is more close to what you want to do, and you'll have that 5 years under your belt. Nobody will ask any questions about your work experience, like job hopping. From then on, it'll be solidified that you can stay somewhere 5 years. So anyway, thanks for watching.